Watcher, it's me again, and yeah, BBC has been wasting more of your money. Hopefully not your money, hopefully you don't give the BBC any of your money. But look at this headline and tell me it doesn't sound like a waste of money to you. BBC spends more than £600,000 a year on diversity and inclusion staff. This is a big thing, and more big companies are doing this, employing diversity and inclusion managers, consultants, stuff like this. It's big business now. Some of the consultancy firms for this get multi-million pound contracts. And don't forget, they did used to employ, where is it, a director of creative diversity in June Sarpong. Do you remember that? And it says here her annual remuneration, she's doesn't do the job anymore, but it was somewhere between £215,000 and £219,999. It was obviously a small bonus scheme in there somewhere if she goes double diverse or something. I don't know. But she doesn't work doing that job for the BBC anymore, and it seems that they've replaced her with a team of people to do the job. So having one person there wasn't effective enough for diversity and inclusion, so they've tripled the money pretty much and brought in a team. Let's have a look. So there was an FOI request that someone filed for it. I'll try and find in a minute. In response to the FOI request regarding diversity, equity or inclusion roles, the BBC said it employs 15 such members of staff with a small number in part-time positions. In total, their jobs are equivalent to that of 13.35 individuals in full-time employment. Well, if you ask me, whoever filed that FOI request had more luck with it, and every time I file one of them, I never get an answer. I've had one pending now for weeks and weeks and weeks. They just don't like answering to me. So yeah, fair play whoever filed that. The BBC did not give a precise total for the outlay, but did provide salary ranges for the jobs. Based on these figures, the lowest estimate for their total cost per year is $678,000. The upper is over $1 million. The positions include that of a creative diversity partner, paid between $50 and $85 a year. It's not as much money as you would think for the BBC. They're not riding the gravy train to retirement on 50 grand a year, are they? Tim Davie, who became BBC Director, yeah, we know that, has ring-fenced $100 million of his existing commissioning budget over 3 years for diverse content. Maybe, Mr. Tim Davie, focus on actual content because you've cut 1,000 hours of new programming commissions from the BBC. You've cut 1,000 hours. They're always bleating on at the BBC how skint they are. Always, we've got to make cuts. We can't afford this. Isn't this where some of the money's going? And the other thing is there a lack of diverse productions on the BBC itself? I don't watch the BBC. I can't because I don't have a television licence. I suppose I could go round my mum's and have a little look on iPlayer. But from what I recall, I don't think there was, over the last few years, a problem with diverse content. I think the problem is content in general. And they're all over the shop. They just need to be making the best content. If the best content or the best content ideas you have include minority groups, great. If it doesn't matter. Just make better content all round. You don't have to pander all of the time. The BBC expects the production teams it works with to be at least 20% diverse and at least 2 individuals in senior decision-making roles. On a production to be from one of the 300 presented groups, black and minority ethnic, disabled and working class. Okay, so working class is diverse now, is it? So I can now claim that I'm in a diverse minority group, can I? Even though I'm a white British bloke, because I'm working class, I can claim that. Well, that's good news. Anyway, now I fit under the umbrella. I can go get a job at the BBC. To be at least 20% diverse. So does that mean that some people that would be perfect for a job will have to be overlooked because they don't fit in to what they need? It must, right? There must be some people that go for the job that are perfect for the role, but they can't have it because they're not black, minority ethnic, disabled or working class. Does that sound right to you? What's wrong with just putting the best person for the job in the job with regardless of what they look like or where they're from? Isn't that true equality? The best person for the job wins. That's true equality, isn't it? At least 2 individuals in senior decision-making roles also have to fit in to that group, which, again, that means some people who are going to be perfect for the job that have been making senior decisions, whatever they are, for a long time will be overlooked for positions in order to bring someone in who is probably underqualified but is black, minority, ethnic, disabled or working class. Isn't that discrimination? You're discriminating against the perfect person for the job because they don't fit into a minority group. That's not equality, is it? True equality is the best person for the job gets the job. And if you're from a minority, ethnic, disabled or working class group and you don't get the job, maybe it's because you weren't suited to the job, not just because of where you're from or the colour of your skin. Work a bit harder, get the qualifications and get the job that way. Is there really that much discrimination at the BBC that someone from a minority group couldn't get a senior decision-making role if they were perfectly suited for it? Is that how bad the BBC is? Because if that is how bad the BBC is, they've got bigger problems than just bringing in diversity inclusion managers and things, haven't they? Earlier this month, Charlotte Moore, Chief Content Officer at the BBC, said that the BBC is required of all its suppliers to have a diversity and inclusion policy in place, offering a template on the BBC's. So if you're a supplier to the BBC, I'm guessing for content, you also have to play by these rules. There you go. I mean, is that why the BBC's lacking in new content, trying to buy it in from the outside? Is that why? Because a lot of the places won't do these rules. BBC Studios are buying up loads of independent production companies, loads of independent British production companies. And they're not rebadging them as the BBC. They're letting them keep their indie names. Is this why? So they can force these rules on independent production companies because no one else wants to work with them? I don't know. I have no idea. All I can see from the outside, unless it is really bad at the BBC, and it is quite bad. There's a lot of posh sounding white people at the BBC, granted. But if it's that bad at the BBC, you have to bring in teams to work on inclusivity. Yeah, the BBC's got big problems, haven't they? Otherwise, if they're just doing it to pander to the woke masses, then that's not inclusion, is it? Because you're excluding some people who would be perfect for the role, but they can't have it because they're not disabled or working class or minority ethnic. Bloody BBC. What do you think about this? Am I well off? I mean, I've been well off on stuff in the past. Let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments below. As always, while you're down there leaving your comment, hit all the buttons and everything as well. Because if you do that, hopefully I'll get to see you in another video again soon, won't I? Ta-da!